Tonight on To The Point.
State lawmakers are debating a bill that could change how you get help filing an insurance claim. What could change and who's pushing back?
New questions about the deadly Esparto explosion.
It just rattled us to the core.
Why some families are questioning the investigation and possible foul play. Plus, a big change for California military retirees. How thousands could soon pay less in taxes. And later, a retired teacher thought she was selling a bike online. Instead, she lost hundreds to a scam.
The back of my head knew the whole time.
Tonight, her warning to others.
Good evening. As always, thank you so much for joining us on To The Point. I'm Alex Bell. Well, when disaster strikes, some homeowners hire public insurance adjusters to help with their claims. But a California lawmaker says some are taking advantage of their clients in their most vulnerable moments, and he wants to change the law to fix that. ABC 10's Becca Hotbegger was in a hearing today where the bill was debated.
Yeah, Alex, when you hear the word adjuster, you might think about the claims adjuster employed by an insurance company to, for example, visit a burned home and help determine what the company will pay. But the kind of adjuster we're talking about in this bill is someone the policyholder, the homeowner, hires to advocate for them.
We can't allow a few bad actors in this industry to harm our consumers. This is a consumer protection bill.
That's Democratic Assemblymember John Harabedian. His district includes Altadena and other areas damaged in January by the Eaton fire. He says lots of home insurance policyholders who lost their home hired public adjusters to help them navigate the claims process and get as much of a payout as possible from their insurance company.
Public adjusters typically work on a contingency of what they collect. And so if you get nothing, they get paid nothing.
Greg Clifford is CEO of Sunpoint Public Adjusters and says people in his profession help wildfire victims.
We bring in this vast array of experts. We come into the picture, we present the claim to the insurance company, we say this is what's owed under the policy, this is why we feel the values are correct, and we force the insurance company to pay what's rightfully owed, in opposed to what they just want to offer up as just to see if you walk away number.
But Harabedian says California needs to strengthen its laws around how public adjusters can conduct business.
A lot of public adjusters will sign up. Using the word ambulance chaser in this circumstance is apt. Sign up lots of cases, whether there's merit or not, and you get a percentage on the whole thing. There's easy money to be taken. And then you just kind of figure out, okay, of the 50 I just signed up during a disaster, maybe 10 actually get me some real money. And I think a lot of people who sign up public adjusters don't know that that's what they're getting into. I can show you the contracts. Very ambiguous language.
He presented his bill Wednesday to the State Senate Insurance Committee. Now, state law already regulates how public adjusters can conduct business, but Harabedian wants to make their contracts more transparent and straightforward when it comes to disaster situations.
Ensuring that policyholders know exactly what they're paying for. It would prevent public adjusters from charging fees on monies paid out before the public adjuster was involved.
Clifford, testifying in opposition to the bill at the hearing, says the changes in the bill might ultimately make it harder for fire victims to hire public adjusters, leaving insurance companies to get their way.
That's why so many insurance companies are supporting it, because it gives them an opportunity to not pay what they're supposed to pay. I've been doing this for 30 years. They're going to take every opportunity they can to be more profitable for their shareholders.
He says he's in favor of more transparency and consumer protections, but doesn't think this bill does it the right way. The bill, AB 597, passed through the committee today. Its supporters include the state insurance commissioner, insurance industry lobbying groups, the Eaton Survivors Network, and the LA County Board of Supervisors. The bill goes next to the Senate Appropriations Committee. Alex?
All right, Becca, thank you. The To The Point team spent months investigating the home insurance crisis, hearing from homeowners, lawmakers, and the insurance commissioner himself. You can stream the special investigation right now on our free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. California is offering a new financial incentive to keep veterans from leaving the state. For the first time, military retirees and their surviving spouses will receive a partial tax exemption up to $20,000 of their yearly military retirement pay. The change is part of the state's newly passed budget and is something advocates have been pushing for.
The cost of living has gone up for California, but our the average retiree pay is like $34,000. It's not significant, but it does make a difference for those retirees that are living in California.
Roughly 140,000 military retirees live in California. The exemption is currently in effect and will remain in place through 2030. Sacramento County officials are now formally opposing a new bill aimed at restructuring how the region handles homelessness. Senate Bill 802, authored by Senator Angelique Ashby, would transform the Sacramento Housing and Redevelopment Agency into a new joint powers authority called the Sacramento Area Housing and Homelessness Agency. It would include elected leaders from Sacramento City and County, along with Folsom, Elk Grove, Citrus Heights, and Rancho Cordova. Mayors from those cities already opposed the bill, and now Sacramento County's Board of Supervisors has joined them, sending a letter to Ashby. County leaders say the bill could jeopardize $40 million in homeless assistance funds and disrupt programs that are already in place. Senator Ashby told ABC 10 that she expected some pushback and is open to amendments. The bill's next hearing is set for July 16th. Tonight, the Trump administration is suing the California Department of Education for allowing transgender girls to compete on girls' sports teams, alleging the policy violates federal law. The lawsuit filed by the Justice Department says California's transgender athlete policies violate Title IX, the federal law that bans discrimination in education based on sex. The department says California's rules, quote, are not only illegal and unfair, but also demeaning, signaling to girls that their opportunities and achievements are secondary to accommodating boys. We reached out to the California Department of Education about the lawsuit. They said they cannot comment on pending litigation. Tonight, neighbors of the Esparto fire explosion site are outraged, and they have some serious concerns of foul play. They tell us the Yolo County Sheriff's Office and other local officials should not even be a part of the investigation after learning that a Yolo County lieutenant sheriff lived on the property. ABC 10's Roxanne Elias has the story for us tonight.
All of a sudden, everything came flying off the walls. There was a huge explosion. It just rattled us to the core. It felt like a semi had just drove through our house.
Darla Robinson, who lives walking distance from the site of the Esparto warehouse explosion, says she's traumatized after the massive fire ended with 7 people dead. She and a few other neighbors say they had no idea fireworks were being stored in the warehouse. And the residents who did know felt it was a ticking time bomb.
I went and told my wife, I hollered at her, I said, oh my God, the fireworks are blowing up over there. And we knew it was going to happen someday because it was so big. Getting so big over there.
On Wednesday, this was a scene of the aftermath as the spokesman for the Yolo County Sheriff's Office confirmed they, along with ATF, CAL FIRE, and the Department of Justice, are working on clearing up any leftover explosions, cleaning up the site, and making everything safe. Here you can see multiple vehicles lining the road, tents set up, and a crew of people standing together. The Sheriff's Office also says they're trying to finish up the criminal investigation at the site. But some Esparto residents don't feel they should be involved after learning a deputy lived on the property.
They need to be exposed. This can't be like it is. They should not be on that scene right down there right now. They should not be a part of any of this right now because they're the culprits.
Robinson says from her property, she could see officials removing guns from a safe and placing them in the back of a truck. She has many questions and wonders why the families of the victims are being kept in limbo.
And the city, Yolo County, Esparto Fire and sheriffs have treated these people like dirt when they should be treating them with everything of respect right now. They knew what that situation was down there, and they did nothing about it.
In Esparto, Roxanne Elias, ABC 10.
Now, the Yolo County Sheriff's Office says that they are still working on notifying all of the victims' next of kin before releasing their identities. And we have continuing coverage of the Esparto fire right now on our ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. That app is free to download to your TV. Still ahead, more questions in Texas about emergency plans ahead of the deadly floods, why a warning system wasn't built despite signed off plans.
A weather impact alert going into effect into the end of the work week. Meantime, we're tracking temperatures deep in the 100s. We'll talk about some heat alerts in place as well.
Plus, it started with a bike sale online and ended in a $2,000 scam. The trick that made it happen and how you can spot them. Welcome back. You're taking a live look over downtown Sacramento. A mild day today, but there is a heat up coming. Let's bring in Chief Meteorologist Monica Woods joining us tonight. Monica, always good to see you here.
Yes, and tracking that weather impact alert as well. We got some toasty temperatures. Summer making a big return for the end of the work week. Meantime, highs for today in the low to mid 90s up and down the valley, 60s along the coast, 80s in the foothills, and 70s shower free for the Sierra, Central Sacramento Valley and surrounding foothills. That's where we get into that weather impact alert. When Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the impact being those heat related illnesses with highs up to 110. Need to seek shade and get proper hydration, as well as access to any cooling like air conditioning. Definitely use it if you have it. Fans aren't going to be enough with this type of heat. Here's a look at our heat alerts. We've got the heat advisory in place Friday, Saturday, and Sunday through the central and northern part of the Sacramento Valley and foothills. A little bit farther to the north, we get into that extreme heat watch, and that's where we also have multiple fires burning. Some of that smoke moving its way through the valley, giving us a hazy view and a warm one as well for our Thursday. Otherwise, air quality not doing too bad, but unfortunately, we will see that poor air quality persist with these hot temperatures. Lows for tonight falling into the 60s, but that summer heat making a return. Northwest winds stay with us. Those are dry and warming winds. Highs in the 80s tomorrow for the Sierra with 90s and 100s down the hill. Along the coast, we've got a little bit of patchy low cloudiness and fog that will partially clear for the afternoon with highs in the 60s, 90s and 100s inland. That includes the Delta as well. As we expand this through the Central Valley, widespread 100s for tomorrow. That after morning lows starting off in the 50s to right around 65 degrees. A look at our regional 5-day forecast. Highs will be in the 80s to near 90 over the weekend for the mountains. For the foothills, we're dry. Highs are in the 90s and close to 100, especially for the lower foothills. And then for the coast, well, that's certainly the place to be if we want to beat the heat. Highs in the 60s with a mix of sun and clouds through the upcoming weekend. A look at our regional forecast for the 3-day outlook. Our highs on Thursday and Friday in the low 100s, but that's the peak heat. Once we dig into the weekend, we get a little bit of moderating temperatures, but it's not until next week we really start to bring those temperatures down into the low to mid 90s with mostly sunny skies. Alex.
All right, Monica, thank you so much. Still a lot more news to get to. So right after the break, California search and rescue crews are sent to Texas to help with flooding. The new questions about emergency response plans. Plus, why your trash pickup could be delayed across Northern California. We have the details. Trash pickup is getting disrupted across Northern California after more than 2,000 trash workers walked off the job nationwide. Trash ready for pickup sits in the sun on Stockton streets. The sanitation workers who would be taking it to the Forward landfill in Manteca are instead on the picket line. They are among thousands who are striking Republic services across the country right now, demanding better pay and benefits. Republic says it's working to keep trucks on the road, but says some customers may see temporary disruptions while they continue to negotiate. Governor Newsom says California is once again sending crews to help states hit by disasters. New teams are being deployed to Texas, Oregon, and New Mexico as they deal with deadly flooding and fast-moving wildfires. Crews include urban search and rescue teams, firefighter strike teams, and specialized incident support staff. In Texas, 9 FEMA-trained personnel are already on the ground. And it comes as there are major questions in Texas about the emergency plans that were in place ahead of the floods. As Perry Russum shows us, local leaders are now under the spotlight for a warning system that was never built.
In Kerr County, Texas today, where nearly 80% of the flood deaths happened, local officials facing an onslaught of questions, including why a flood warning system was never built. After ABC News learned local leaders spent years discussing it.
I wasn't in office during those discussions. And frankly, I'm more focused on the future than the past.
Public meeting records show as early as 2016, the city of Kerrville spoke about the importance of a warning system. Last April, a local river authorities board unanimously authorized a contract upworth to about $73,000. Texas Governor Greg Abbott yesterday saying the state had assets, resources, and personnel in place ahead of the storm.
The flood began on Friday morning. We originally positioned those assets, resources, and personnel on Wednesday.
Kerrville's police chief asked, did they have those resources?
I don't have the answer to that question right now.
Today on Capitol Hill, Neil Jacobs, President Trump's pick to be the next administrator of NOAA, which oversees the National Weather Service. He was the acting chief in 2019 when Trump changed the expected impact of a hurricane with a Sharpie.
Getting the warnings to the people, particularly at late hours of the night, is a challenge. I think we can do more advancements, moving away from copper wire, moving towards telecom, potentially satellite, to send out these messages.
Despite national staffing shortages, the local weather office in Texas says that they had surge staffing with 5 meteorologists working ahead of the incident when there are just typically 2. Now we have a special look at the lives lost and the legacy of Camp Mystic, now streaming on the ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app. You can find Tragedy at Camp Mystic on your home screen, and you can download that app free to your TV. A warning from Washington. Federal officials say someone used artificial intelligence to pose as Secretary of State Marco Rubio and contacted both American and foreign officials. A State Department memo says the fake Marco Rubio sent text messages and voicemails to 3 foreign leaders, a U.S. governor, and a member of Congress. The voice messages mimicked Rubio's voice, and the text messages were in his writing style. Officials say the imposter was trying to, quote, gain access to information or accounts.
We live in a technological age that we are enmeshed in, and I'll leave it at that.
The State Department says it's unclear who was behind the scheme, but says there was no direct attack on its systems. Tonight, a retired teacher is sharing a warning after losing $2,000 in a Facebook marketplace scam. She thought that she was just selling a bike, but it was through an app that she was tricked. Consumer investigator Steve Steger found federal regulators are now pushing to crack down on fraud.
It was an effort to do the right thing.
We're just downsizing. You know what the Europeans call death cleaning? Taking responsibility for cleaning out your messes instead of leaving it for your kids.
But Susan Winery says,
"Are you sure you need to clean?"
It went terribly wrong.
I've been selling things on Facebook Marketplace the whole time we've lived here. I've never had an issue.
Susan listed a bike her husband doesn't use anymore for $100.
I received a Facebook message from a gentleman. He said that his sister was not on Facebook, but she wanted to buy this bike. And he gave me a phone number and asked me to text her.
They texted. She asked if Susan had Zelle.
I said, first mistake, you'll have to talk me through it.
Then she got an email she thought was from Zelle,
telling me that since I haven't had an active account, I would have to activate my account.
The texter guided her to pay the money to a strange account with a strange phone number. She said it was a business account that she shared.
You're going to basically send me the $500 to establish the account, and then I'm going to give you $600.
But then emails kept coming. $500 wasn't enough to authenticate her account, it said. She needed to dump in $1,500 more.
The back of my head knew the whole time. Don't ask me why I played into that. But I did.
How much are you out?
$2,000.
$2,000.
Yeah.
For a $100 bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty prevalent.
Elizabeth Anaskevich is a consumer protection attorney who used to work as an enforcement attorney for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. The CFPB sued Zelle in December of last year, calling the platform an attractive vehicle for fraud.
There have been hundreds of millions of dollars of complaints by some of the largest banks.
The new administration dropped that lawsuit, a move that Zelle at the time applauded, calling the original complaint legally and factually flawed. Anaskevich says Zelle and the banks have made some improvements in fraud prevention since, but it's still pretty prevalent. So in the meantime, users need to be careful.
Never send money to someone that you do not know.
I am so angry at myself.
Susan did what you're supposed to do. She immediately reported the transaction to Zelle, her bank, and the police. She doesn't think that money is coming back. So in the meantime, this retired English teacher wants to be a lesson for all of us.
If I can fall for it, somebody who's much needier, having much more of a struggle in their lives than I am, is going to get taken.
Now, we do want to mention there are some safe ways to use Zelle. Most banks allow you to access it through their banking app, and you should only send money to people that you trust and if their contact information has been verified through Zelle. Now, another layer of protection, sign up for text or email alerts offered by your bank so you can flag those suspicious activities that you see. All right, right after the break, the California State Fair is back, and this year there's a new exhibit rolling in, how it's celebrating culture and community. All right, happening this week, the California State Fair is kicking off 17 days of fun, and this year they're introducing a new exhibit celebrating lowrider culture here in the state. California Love, a lowrider culture exhibit, features 11 cars from all over the state. The exhibit also features a display honoring women in lowriding car clubs, and those behind it say the lowrider community plays a major role in communities and culture across our state.
We've built Sacramento Lowrider Commission. We've repealed city, county ordinances, and then wrote a state bill that was passed last year. There's been recognition ACR 176.
Organizers add the exhibit aims to celebrate culture, unity, and resilience that shapes California's identity. Well, that is our show tonight. As always, thank you so much for watching and for always inviting us into your home. If you have something you think me and the team should be looking into, you can reach out to us at tothepoint@abc10.com. And I know we cover a lot of ground, so don't forget you can download the free ABC 10 Plus TV streaming app to catch up on any of the stories or the shows that you missed. Have a great night. We'll see you right back here, same time, same place tomorrow.